want to say right off the bat, this is a video free podcast moment because one lesson I'm learning as I start to embrace this new platform and experience is that nothing always likes to go your way. So you just gotta move and groove with it, if I had to be honest. If I didn't record through my frustrations, if I didn't keep recording even when things don't work out in my way, we would never do this as a whole. So a little side note before we even get into our second episode is to continue to take chances and continue to challenge yourself into the things that make you feel a little stressed out, make you feel a little scared, make you feel a little agitated. So I invite you to take a deep breath with me as I take one myself. One, to just kind of ease those little frustrations. And two, to jump into our theme of today, yoga. Did yoga save my life? I know it's a pretty big bum 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 kind of title, but yoga has been so impactful in my life, personally, professionally, and even as I became a yoga instructor myself. It has helped me grow as a person, and I just want to share the different ideas and lessons I've learned, show and share different ways I've used yoga in my day-to-day life, and obviously how it ties into mental health, because if that wasn't my passion, we wouldn't be here. I love to talk feelings. I love to talk well being. So, going right into it, I'm using today's episode to share my story behind my practice, since yoga shows up in some silly little ways, but has some pretty big impacts. It's influenced, as I said, how I show up as a therapist and even in my day to day life. I'm not trying to push yoga on you, but if you have to try anything once, I'd recommend it. Again, this is my story and how I found something that saved me from a low point in my well being, especially as a young adult. As some people know, and I'm still debating how to share this part of my life, but I had an unsafe relationship with food in my mid to late teens, which caused me to be extremely underweight and weak. Between my anxiety and the toxic mindset around food and diet culture, I went from a healthy average weight to about 30 to 40 pounds underweight. I was getting to the point of being unsafe, and I was extremely ashamed of the body I was neglecting until I found yoga, which surprisingly was at my community college. I'm a Brookdale Community College alumni. Ha ha ha. Love it, rep it, constantly tell people to go. They had a open gym available to students at the time and the public. So this was my first entry into the gym world. I didn't have a gym membership. I didn't do gym stuff during high school. I was working out at home horribly, excessively, and extremely malnourished, and walking into the gym was extremely intimidating. I was a skinny little girl, and all I could think in my head was how everyone was going to pass judgment. Everyone was going to wonder why this skinny girl was in a gym when she was already so skinny. It was just this constant pressure and fear that I was putting on myself. But having this gym available to students and the public was pretty much just student staff. That's it. So you're working alongside administrators, teachers, or just people who volunteered in the area, retired people too, because certain time zones in the gym, I was going like late morning. So I was around a bunch of older adults who genuinely didn't care. They didn't care I was there. And I think that's what helped. When it came to find time to embrace the gym environment, they did have a classroom where you could take Zumba, yoga, Pilates, and yoga just ended up working out in our schedules. I was attending college with my best friend, so finding something that each of us could share between our classes was pretty important. And this is where I met my first mentor, Denise. If you're a true yoga Jersey girl, you've probably met Denise. She's still teaching today and thriving, may I add. And when I met her, probably 11 years ago, I was this sick little bean sitting over to the side of the room with my best friend, just two wide-eyed girls in a room full of a bunch of skeptical adults. I think there was a part of them that, and I can see this now as I call myself an in-between adult, that part of, are these kids gonna, jazz up this class and make it fun, or are they just here to cause trouble? I get it, but as I want to embrace older people in my life, older people have to embrace younger people. It has to happen. I feel like it's so fulfilling, again, to be a young adult and have older friends normalize normal things that happen in life. And being an older adult talking to younger kids, again, within boundaries and respectful spaces, it's giving them this optimistic attitude of something to look forward to. This was the community I needed. I needed a community without judgment, without comparison, without fear. And Denise maintained that structure as a teacher, which I still practice today. Try your best and see what happens. Yoga's first lesson to me is to maintain the present moment. This is that mindfulness aspect. Being grateful for the moment, for what you're capable of, and what you have. Because there's consistent change in life. Change is inevitable, whether change is good or bad, easy or hard, shows up very, very quickly, or takes its time. Change is going to happen. And as humans, we fear change. We worry about the past, we fear it repeating in the future. But yoga gave me a space without fear. It taught me to exist in the present moment and to share that with a community where comparison wasn't going to happen. When you're in your early teens, 20s, there's still that comparison. There's still this, what's everyone doing? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to look like? But that's following the group. That's following expectations. That's not you acknowledging yourself as an individual. Remember, we are our biggest critics. And I think I've said that on repeat to the point where I'm going to turn blue. And I can bet you that the person you're having anxious thoughts about is probably having anxious thoughts about somebody else. We live in a state of worry and fear, and I know it's being emphasized in so many ways, but there are calm spaces. Don't forget to take your calm space. And maybe that's in yoga. Maybe that's literally hiding in a bathroom. Maybe it's going outside, but please prioritize taking your peaceful spaces. Yoga taught me balance of parts: body, mind, and emotions. As I tie that into my passion for mental health, there's that constant balance of your three-part wellness. In the beginning, I was intentionally doing yoga for my body without realizing I was treating my mind and emotions more. In my opinion, the hardest style of yoga is yin. And after 11 years of practicing yoga, I've tried a lot of styles of yoga. If you don't know what yin is, it's a restorative style of practice where you're holding simple poses or shapes for longer periods of time. When I would teach a hybrid class, maybe those times would be around 3 to 5 minutes. I've taken classes where I'm holding a shape for 5 to 10 minutes. Time for my boomer hippie soapbox speech. It's those damn phones. We live with a lot of distractions. And same here, I'd be a hypocrite if I said I wasn't. I have a habit of always playing things in the background, whether it's a podcast myself or a show. I'm obviously active on social media, but again, where's your pocket of peace? Where's your quality time for you? And I found that in yin, and I wish to practice it more. Here's my special way of how I put yin yoga into my day-to-day life. Yin, to me, is about spending time with yourself, taking a quiet moment, and again, just being with you. That mindfulness aspect. Present day, how do I practice yin in my day-to-day life? It's standing outside of my backyard with my dogs. My girl Daisy and I will just look up to the sun with our eyes closed and just listen to the birds in the background, whiskey probably running around behind us. We feel the warm sun on our face. We breathe with a certain pace. And the goal is to just slow ourselves down. Slowing down, feeling the shape of your body, noticing your breath, taking in the second for what it is, clearing your head of any thought. That's yin. That's mindfulness. That's one of the hardest styles because we don't do this enough. We don't sit with ourselves. We don't sit without distraction. We don't just be. We're not doing it enough. Because again, when we're prioritizing those spaces of peace, when we're prioritizing quality time with ourselves, something happens. We have a different quality, a different perspective. I think what's intimidating about yin yoga is, again, those distracting thoughts. As humans, they're going to come in, they're going to come out. But with yoga, it's not ignoring the thought, it's not feeling aggravated that the thought comes in, but it's acknowledging the thought for what it is and putting it to the side, not acting on it. How can you reflect on something before you react to something? And that's yin yoga, again, for me. That's my biggest challenge. My mind works a mile a minute. That's why I'm tripping over my tongue half the time I'm recording. That's why I take so many chances to figure out my flow. But when you're finally taking moments to slow yourself down, seeing a thought for what it is and putting it to the side, getting back to it later, these are those moments where I try to remind myself and even clients that we have a lot more control than we think. We have control on how we react to those thoughts. We have control of how soon we act on those thoughts. We have control on how we process those thoughts, but you have to move at a slow pace. It's not very go, go, go. I think the way my dad would say it, move too quick, you're going to get hurt. And I don't go, I drop a lot of things too many times. So moving slow, again, this was my goal for me. And maybe if you're similar, where you notice that you move too quickly, or you're moving too fast, or you're moving too much, challenge yourself by taking a yin class. Challenge yourself by taking some slow movements. Challenge yourself by taking up some space. Yoga helped me feel connected to my physical body outside of the anxiety, because if you're like me and you experience physical symptoms from tummy aches to body shakes, I'm right there with you. So when I say connected, I mean in the way of seeing my ability rather than punishing myself for my anxiety. I'll say that again. Yoga helped me feel connected by seeing my body for what it is able to do rather than focusing on the anxious symptoms. Yoga allowed me to see my strength. Yoga allowed me to make connections with my muscles and my movements. It gave me intention with my movement, steady, slow. And at the time, majority of the style I was practicing was vinyasa. And a lot of people know vinyasa for its sun salutations. I like to describe it as a dance. You're moving with a flow, you're moving with your breath. And it looks so graceful. I always admire gymnasts and ballerinas just for their spatial awareness and the awareness of their body. And there's plenty of times, I think a lot of us feel this, that we can move like a newborn giraffe. It's very glitchy. It's very awkward. Again, I've banged into too many too many doorways, too many tables, but in yoga I felt graceful even if I fell. I found beauty in my body with this movement. And again, it just did something to how I perceived myself. Seeing my body in a way of grace, a way of strength, a way of intention helped my mind register, I don't know, a better connection. Maybe even to prioritize myself a little bit more. Maybe even to see myself in a different light, removing that sense of criticism and creating this sense of, could we say, confidence? Possibly, maybe. So many people are trying to escape their bodies. I'll always think back to the faces people make when I mention I teach yoga, or I've been introduced as a yoga teacher. I always get the, oh, I could never meditate. Meditation's so hard. I could never sit still. It's a 50-50 chance with people. To each their own. But I'm not trying to escape my body. I'm trying to be in my body. A lot of us need to be in our bodies. A lot of us are trying to avoid our bodies. Again, to each their own. If you're trying to escape your body, best of luck on that journey. But when I'm trying to bring in grounding technique, it's to be back in your body and not to avoid it for those anxious symptoms or any other symptoms. We're not trying to float too high. I think for a lot of us, and I know I'm tying this back to anxiety a lot of the times, but when you're taking those big breaths, I'll always ask clients, I've asked friends in each setting, therapy, yoga, and personal, everyone always breathes in their chest. You see that big breath in, all that air gets pushed up into your head. But in yoga, you're taking that breath and you're carrying it lower down. One of my breathwork techniques, it's almost the foundation for most yoga, is to breathe into your belly. Placing two hands on top of your stomach, we lost this. I think I was reading something how when we're babies, we're breathing into our belly, but then over time it just migrates into our chest. When you're breathing into your belly, you're carrying the oxygen into lower parts of yourself. When you're breathing into your chest, again, those anxiety attacks, that quick movement, that fear, it's pushing all that air into your head. That's what's going to make you feel lightheaded. That's what's going to make you feel a little bit more flustered. That's what's going to make you feel ungrounded. You're floating away. But with yoga and that mindfulness and that breath work, breathing into your belly, you're redirecting your focus onto your body. You're feeling everything grow like a balloon. And you're exhaling, slowly finding your pace again with your breath. This is what's going to bring our feet back to the ground. Slow breath in, big breath out. Meditation isn't always about sitting still on a pillow. Maybe meditation is going for a walk, brushing your teeth. Hell, I've meditated in a hair salon. When that blow dryer is just doing its thing, I've played around with sounds. I think a lot of us get distracted by music, by lyrics, by just beats. So when I have just a background noise, white noise, brown noise, I'm just doing research now on green noise. I love binaural beats. These are just humming sounds that put my mind on something in order for me to focus on everything else. I don't want to get lost in a thought or memory. I just need my mind to be distracted in order for me to focus on my physical body. Again, with meditation, the goal is just to be present, to pace your breath, and to acknowledge your physical being. And when I collaborate with clients, sometimes their meditative spaces are the gym, Pilates, skincare routine, again, gardening. You can find these moments, whether you're being present for a minute or maybe 10. But these are still spaces that we all need to prioritize and we all need to take. In another episode, I'll go more into depth, but spending time with my animals is meditative. For those who don't know, my boyfriend came with 2 dogs, our lovely Whiskey and Daisy, and he gifted me my little black cat, Chubby. If you're not spending time with your animals, shame on you. And for some of you who know my family dog, Hiccup, the OG love of my life, he's a little wiener dog. My family and I would spend hours just sitting outside watching this little wiener dog run up and down the backyard, chasing a ball, even running into a bush. He was so fun to watch. And looking at my animals as I currently stand and spend time with Daisy and Whiskey, just as much as I did my Hiccup, they're living in the present moment. They're not worrying about what happened yesterday. They're not even thinking about tomorrow. They're just happy to be there. So I've challenged myself and I've challenged my clients too. If you have an animal at home, just do what they're doing. It's so silly, but running around the backyard with Whiskey is so mindful. Sitting outside taking in the sun with Daisy, so mindful. Sitting here whacking around a freaking toy with my cat is mindful. They're just living in the now. And sometimes I just want to live in the now. So again, I always tell everyone and anyone to spend time with your animals. I love our animals, and being with them is a reminder that they are in their own peace. They are in their own present moment. And as humans, we can disrupt our own peace in any way. Stop disrupting your own peace. Just take that space, take that moment, be selfish about it, that healthy level of selfish in order to protect your power, protect your peace. I was no longer this frightened teenager. I was able to become a certified yoga instructor when I finished my bachelor's degree in psychology. I had the goal of becoming a therapist, but I ended up taking a gap year in order to work, save money, and I ended up pursuing yoga teaching. I've been the front desk, I've taught community classes, to substitute, to teacher, to manager, I freelanced. I was hustling for those 5 years of my life. I taught a demographic from the age of 2 to I think 89 was my oldest client. I've learned so much and met some amazing teachers, business owners, and experienced things in both the holistic, hippie, and organic world. But it's my students who made me. I have so much love in my body, and honestly, teaching gave me a space to fulfill this need I have to take care of people. I don't necessarily have a favorite style or demographic, but teaching kids yoga kept things lighthearted and fun. I love being creative and excited, just like a kid. And I think we lose that creativity and that excitement when we become adults. Working with kids helps me maintain my light, that playfulness, that lightheartedness, that optimism. And I could see why I work with teenagers now as a therapist, trying to remind our young adults that there's something really fun out there and to keep your fun. And sometimes I have to remind adults not to lose that aspect about having fun. With my adult classes, I've taught vinyasa, yin, mobility, wall yoga, you name it, we've done it. And teaching between studios and gyms to even private events, there's always been surprises. I've said before, my favorite surprise I've had to adjust my class to is the secret pregnant person. And what do I mean by that? When I was teaching yoga, it helped me gain the I would say the skill to just problem solve, to adjust something in the moment, to redirect my teachings because things happen. Like I said before, the secret pregnant person would be a student who wasn't laying on their stomach or not engaging in any twists. And I always want to make sure that my students feel included no matter what the capability is for the day. I want to know. Tell me what aches, what hurts, and the problem because I'm there for you as a teacher. So even if there's someone in the class who is just not twisting like everybody else, well, then how am I going to adjust my flow so everyone feels included? And that's just me. When I would teach yin, I found it super humorous. There was one time where these two students in the back didn't do a damn thing. Again, yin is a restorative style of practice, so yeah, there's a lot of laying down, but this is what I mean when I've told students before, I really don't care what you do as long as you're safe. Yoga, yes, is a class, but I like to invite people into the flow. You gotta want it to in order to do it. I'm not gonna force you to do something you can't do. I also can't force your body to do something it's not ready to do in the day. That's that mindfulness aspect. Try your best. See what happens. Do what you feel comfortable. I think that's what's giving that confidence to your students, and that's what helped me gain confidence as a client as well, a yoga student. Because when you start listening to what you need and you start making those choices for yourself, there's more confidence in making decisions off the mat. There's more awareness to what you are able to do, what you like, and what you can tolerate. We don't have to be doing everything like everybody else. We are all not the same. A lot of us have different needs, a lot of us have different capabilities, and it's so important to acknowledge those things. I want to say a big thank you to the students who were there in the beginning, because they had so much patience early on. I think, like anything, even as you notice through this podcast, early on, I'm nervous, I'm shaky, I'm tripping over my words. So, having students who are patient with me and all my fumbles allowed me to have that space to mess up, to normalize and laugh at myself. Because if you don't get over that hump of fear, that hump of something new, then you're not going to maintain it. And I think laughing at yourself and just saying screw it and do it, obviously within certain boundaries, don't take what I say and twist it. But if you just say do it if it scares you, do it, you might just become in love with it. You might just feel more confident in it. You might just let go of that fear and just keep on moving. Do it. Do it if it scares you. I'm an older sibling who loves attention. Look at me and all my anxiety. I'm still doing it. And so can you. You know you have it in you, and maybe you lost that spark or it's been dimmed for whatever reason. I was anxious, I was scared, I had a lot of things, and a lot of people dim my light. But yoga allowed me to shine. I shined because the people around me felt bright when I saw the spark in them. Yoga was an exchange for me. I was talking to my sister about how we do well in individual activities that we share in a group. Yoga taught me boundaries, as I mentioned before. What I used to say when I would teach, and I still do now, don't worry about me. Don't worry about the person next to you. It's just you and your mat. It's you and your body. It's you and your practice. There was a sense of ownership in your autonomy that was celebrated. And my first mentor highlighted that in her students, their strength, and promoted that we cheer each other on based on our effort and our strength to try. It was never about perfection. It was just trying that pose, trying that shape, and seeing others cheer you on. You got this. You can do this. I saw that you tried it this week. You look great. That means so much. Embrace you, your shape, and your strength. I want to embody that in my teaching because if I didn't challenge my perspective and change that perspective I had of my body, I wouldn't have taken care of it the way I am now, and I wouldn't have helped myself. I hope my students felt safe and confident, even if it took time, because I see the beauty in you before you do. We are always going to be, again, our first and biggest critic, but if you can find a moment where you see your beauty in yourself, beauty in your shape, if I can, I know you can. And that's the reminder for a lot of my male students because men are beautiful too. My students are my community. Although I took a big step back from teaching and I'm slowly rebuilding a foundation, there's still a big part of me that grieves my old community, my old students. 5 years, 5 years of building friendships, celebrating changes and growth for all of us. Years of watching my students become friends. I've seen people fall in love and I've seen us grow up. We all grew up together. I know even now, as I shared this podcast and started advertising it, I was met with so much love and so much support and so many supporting messages that I can't even call those people students anymore because they are my friends. Thankfully, social media has helped us stay connected. And in some way, I found different ways to stay connected to others. I have a whole mailing pen pal situation going on with my older students. Yoga has taught me the skill to be able to connect and embrace with many types of personalities, which I know correlates to my therapy career. I'm not saying I was able to be a therapist or yoga instructor for everyone. Again, there are plenty of people I've met that just it didn't work out, and that's okay. Everyone has a type. I know I do too. But I know those who approach me with an open mind and a chance were able to do some pretty amazing work. Together, on your own, or in your community space, without yoga, I doubt I'd have the confidence as a therapist or as a businesswoman to pursue the public. Learning marketing tools is one thing, but connecting to people is the biggest skill to have and necessary as a therapist. Being able to understand what people need in the moment in order to go below the surface level, I'd like to credit that to yoga. Building this awareness to watch how people move, watch certain facial expressions, lean into that curiosity. Hey, you feeling okay? Would you like to try something new? How is that working for you? That's showing my awareness as a person, as a teacher, as a therapist, which I think, because I've sat on both sides, as a client, I want that. As a client, I want someone to notice me when a lot of people didn't. I want a, as a client, I want someone to understand that I don't feel comfortable with this and maybe I'm a little too scared to say it. Ask me. It's so important to come with a sense of curiosity and a sense of, hey, I'm here for you, but I'm not doing this for you. That's the difference. I have to hold my students, my clients accountable. I am just your tour guide. You're doing the work. Outside of my yoga certification, I did pursue specific trainings. One for eating disorders. I think that's kind of obvious. Others that align with my niche in mental health. Currently, and still learning, because I never stop learning, is somatic healing. I'm a holistic therapist, and while talk therapy is the majority of most therapies and so many other theories in MFT, I will always find my yoga language in my authenticity. I'm always going to be curious and collaborating with my clients ways to create mindful moments in our sometimes chaotic time. I'm rediscovering my practice after teaching to the unfortunate point of burnout. As some people know, I've had my challenges like any other working person, but I allowed it to get to a space where I almost lost my passion for it. I've been exploring my relationship and my space at home with my practice, exploring different studios and new communities in my area, and finding my place in my new community. I'm really just trying to take up space. Because, like I've said in some of my yoga classes, puff up your chest, be big. There is no place for you to be small. And I wouldn't say that if I wasn't practicing it. Because even as I tried my best to rediscover my practice and take up space and be big, like any human, I want to be small because I'm scared. Challenge that fear. When things don't always work out, when things that you like become a little too much, when you sense that it's starting to feel like a chore, when it's bringing on stress, take a step back. Take a step back and reevaluate. Do I need to come back to my foundation? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to catch my breath? Yoga isn't about rushing. Yoga is about listening to your needs, finding compassion for yourself, nourishing yourself. It's pushing yourself within boundaries, never to the point of burnout. To my students, my community, my friends, all impacted my well being. But yoga truly saved my life. Again, as I continue to grow and learn in my practice and about myself, I hope you do too. May you find mindfulness in your day, check in with all your parts, mentally, physically, emotionally. May you connect to your body and build a relationship of compassion and motivation. But always take time in your day for that peaceful pocket. And whatever happens, we'll get there when we get there. I'd like to end today's episode the way I'd end a yoga class. So I invite you to check in with our three parts physically, from our head to our toes. Where is my strength today? Where was my power? Where can I be gentle to the parts of myself that feel tired, that feel weak? Mentally, was I able to stay present in the moment? Or did I get lost in a thought or memory? Are we able to put that thought to the side, wave high, and get back to it later? That thought will still be there when you get there. And last, emotionally, without judgment, without trying to change it, today I feel. How can I maintain that positive feeling? What do I need to feel comfortable in my negative feeling? Taking a big breath together into our bellies. Big breath out, sinking the belly. And bowing the head to show gratitude towards our body. Thankful for what it could do, for what we tried and accomplished today. Taking a moment to thank yourself for taking this time out of your day to listen to this episode, to embrace this podcast. And I thank you for making time for me. I'm wishing you all a great rest of the day, week, and weekend to come. Namaste to my friends. Namaste to my listeners. And that brings today's episode to a close. Have a great evening, my friends. Until next time, this is Silly Girl, Silly Thoughts. I'm your host, Mindful Body with Rachel B. I'll see you guys next time.